Hello, you amazing people. You're listening to the Marketing and Coffee Podcast, the show that brings you the latest in marketing, especially in the UAE market, with your host, Lijo Etup.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Marketing and Coffee Podcast with Lijo. Today I have Latika Vieira, Head of Marketing, Kaya Skin Clinic, Middle East. Is it North Africa also, or is it just the Middle East market, Latika?
Not yet North Africa, Lijo, Middle East only.
Awesome. So she's been handling the Kaya Skin Clinic brand in the Middle East since 2007. She got it into 8th Superbrand Status in UAE in 2017. Her experience of 15 years in skincare and services makes her an amazing expert to talk about skincare and its allied industries. More importantly, marketing for me, and that's what it comes to. So it's a very niche category, a very different category, and I thought nobody else better than Latika to come. She's got rich experience in category strategy, brand management, communication development, leading multicultural teams, multifunctional teams. That's amazing in a industry where each culture brings in a different set of skin sets and the way they behave. So amazing. So welcome, Latika. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Lijo. Thanks for that introduction too.
Yeah, so great. So as I started off, 13 years in the same industry, what motivates you to keep going? How do you get up in the morning and say, today is my day, I'm sure going to do something?
Yeah. I get that question a lot, especially in the way people move in their careers today with the millennials where 2 years is too long. So yeah, it has been a dream job. I think for any woman working in beauty is something that just fits in perfectly. I have been interested in it and I got an amazing opportunity with Kaya. There's a very strong belief in the brand and what we offer. And I think that's something that keeps me going. It's got a strong value system. It delivers efficacy. It is something that I have no doubts about waking up and saying, this is what I do and this is what Kaya does. That definitely keeps me going. The other thing I think which is important for everyone is growth. So I joined them in 2007 when we were 4 clinics in one country. And today we're 23 clinics across 3 countries. So the growth of the organization and the growth opportunity that I got. So from a brand manager to a marketing manager to now heading marketing for the region. It has been something that always kept me challenged, always gave me something new to work on. Also, being a smallish organization here, you don't just stick to marketing. You dabble in a bit of sales, you dabble in a bit of innovation, into everything. So I never was bored. Ups and downs, victories, defeats, all of it just kept it almost interesting and different every year. The other thing which a lot of companies or brands don't have the opportunity to do here, which I found in Kaya, was the joy of creating. There were no global campaigns that we just had to adapt here. We created for the market. We created for the brand. In fact, Kaya is one of the few brands, I think, where we are very different in India and the Middle East, purely because the consumer is completely different. The market is very advanced. The fact that we can create, we can come up with our own strategies, we come up with our creatives, was something that just gave me a lot of satisfaction and a lot of excitement to keep going. Yeah, 13 years doesn't feel like 13 years. It feels just as exciting as it did before. And I guess I'm blessed for that.
Awesome. So just another question, since you mentioned that you are quite independent in terms of what you do. There's no global
mandate.
You have to do or guidelines you need to. So how is the Middle East market, skincare consumer market different from the rest of the world? Is there any specific Middle East marketing strategy to work on? Or do you have even specific products for the Middle East market? Or is it something that you don't have and you just adapt?
Yeah, so we were completely different. Of course, there is a reporting to Kaya India, which is the mother brand. And overall, in terms of our offerings are aligned in terms of our business units and what we do. But the Middle East market is extremely different, I think, from the rest of the world, not just from India. The consumer here is a lot more evolved, a lot more aware. For Arabs, beauty is in their DNA. They see their mothers and aunts doing invasive services from a very young age. Unlike, say, an Asian country where you look at skincare or expert skincare only when you have a problem. And only when that problem cannot be treated by my home remedies or max over-the-counter products. But I will never think about, as an Indian, I will never think about going to a dermatologist as the first instance. Or I will never think about starting Botox and fillers at before I even have my first wrinkle. But for the Middle East consumer, she's very evolved to start it. She actually starts it as prevention rather than cure. And it's not something we have to convince them on. So because she is so evolved, she is updated on every trend. She knows machines by name. She knows what has been launched at what conference. So you have to be very differentiated. You have to be ahead of the curve anywhere else. And you have to be knowledgeable and have the offering to give her, because she's going to find it wherever else. So the kind of services that we launch here are very, very different from India. So in fact, we've also started getting into plastic surgery. We have services like M-Sculpt, which gives 6-pack abs in 4 sessions, which uses a technology to give you the contractions and you don't need to go to the gym. We have something called Regenera, which is not for someone who doesn't want to do hair transplant, but is okay to some level of invasive services, which in India would not be possible. These kind of services people would not go in for. But here, it's the need. It's a want. So we do launch technologies way ahead of India. And I think after US, we might be the second market that launches technologies once they launch.
Awesome. One lead is for the 6-pack abs is me for sure. I'm going to talk to you about it offline.
It is such a popular service.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are a lot of people in my listeners who want to have that.
Yeah.
So the advantage of how learned consumer also brings in with it the fact that there's going to be huge competition. The market here could be big in terms of consumers out there. So I'm sure the competition out here is also hugely different from what the consumers Kaya is facing back in India, right?
Yeah. So there's been a huge explosion. Okay. So when Kaya started here, we came in 2003. There were barely 50 clinics or 50 dermatologists, which have now grown to, I think, over 1,000. You have clinics similarly in every emirate, there's one such street. So the competition in the last couple of years has definitely skyrocketed, also because the demand has gone up. In fact, a very interesting stat is that Dubai has the most number of plastic surgeons per capita in the world.
Wow.
So it's an extremely high demand category, and therefore the competition is higher. It's a very unorganized category. So I compete with a single dermatologist who's been here for 50 years, who has generations of the family going to them. I compete with hospitals who, along with all of their other treatments, offer cosmetology. So it's huge and varied, but the way we try to differentiate is to build a one Kaya experience. The environment that we offer is not as intimidating as a hospital, but there is a professionalism that you might not get at a single clinic. So we've tried to find that sweet spot and ensure that experience, that standard operating procedure, that warmth, that efficacy is delivered across all our clinics. And since we've specialized in this, we have over 36 dermatologists. We've been here for 13 years. The wealth of experience that we have, the sharing that goes in between the doctors and the clinics, the efficacy, therefore, that we are able to give customers is the experience with which we differentiate compared to everyone else. I think the other thing, because we come from an FMCG background of Marico, we used to be a fully owned subsidiary of Marico. I think our consumer and marketing is very, very strong. So it's not just about how the category advertises. We've invested a lot in building the brand. So you won't see Kaya communication just with before and after prices or before and after pictures.
Right.
It is always communication that is insight driven to be differentiated, which is also, it makes it harder for us because people are so used to seeing prices and they only want to know that. It is time consuming, but then we are also talking to the consumer who, cares about the brand, who cares about what it goes behind that. And I think that has been one huge differentiator again for us and worked in our favor. Especially in post-COVID time, that's something that is really helping us. We came back with a campaign that was completely differentiated from everyone else. We came back with a campaign that was emotional and relevant for her. And I think that was key in helping us bounce back, not just from getting our own customers back, but we had almost 50% of our new customers were from competition. And they came to us because of reputation, quality, and brand. So yeah, that's how we differentiate in this extremely competitive market.
So you talk about experience and how you want to maintain a standard experience. So the human interaction was big in physical clinic walk-ins and found a big part of the customer experience. Social distancing, has the consumer experience changed of recent over the period of time? How has things changed? How are they adapting to the new normal?
Yeah. 90% of our business comes from services, okay? So the physical is not going anywhere for a brand like Kaya. Products, shopping, everything can be replaced without physical interaction. But to touch your face or to change your body, there is a physical interaction. And that, I think, we've mastered well. Of course, what we've had to do is enhance the safety precautions. Although we were following very, very good safety and hygiene protocols even pre-COVID, there was obviously the new rules that had to come in. So the first month of operation, we were operating only at 30% capacity, the distance between appointments, the number of clients that you were allowed to have in, which obviously also impacted business. But it definitely gave that confidence to people to start coming back because they knew all of this was being followed. Now we're back to 100% capacity, but with obviously all the stricter protocols. So the time between appointments is a little more than it used to be pre-COVID. So that sanitization of the entire room can be done. There's a need to show clients that, what all is being done internally. And in some of our clinics, our clients are actually feeling more comfortable because it helps them step out of the house. They don't have to randomly go shopping and touch things that 100 other people are touching. They feel really safe and secure in our clinical environment. So they're actually coming back a lot more to a clinic rather than going anywhere else for leisure.
Okay, that sounds good. So the consumer, as you said, has become more conscious now. There's something known as clean beauty movement based on conscious consumerism. And studies show that's the way forward. So how do you address this new consumer who wants to be at the right side of being natural?
Yeah. So the thing is, with Kaya, we are not about natural.
Right.
How do you address that? So actually the consumers who come to us are not those looking for, so of course they're into wellness and health, and they'll probably look at clean beauty more in terms of the products that they use. But when it comes to services, to treat your acne, I have to use chemical. I will stay away from carcinogenic and this and that, but it is chemical, it is not natural. When I inject you with Botox and fillers, of course, it's an acid that already exists in your body, but it is not, you'll have to choose age gracefully then, not come into a Kaya and say, I want to get this done. So also with the whole clean beauty movement, there's some level of, I think, a little distortion in it, because you have to understand when you talk about clean beauty, it's almost like buying from a farmer's market. What are the ingredients being used? Are the preservatives, when clean beauty comes onto a shelf and is being made in mass market, there is a certain level of preservatives that have to come in. Otherwise, it can't be on a shelf for that long. So understanding where it is and how you're able to get that into your life is important. But with the services that we offer at Kaya, that doesn't come into play because there is a lot of chemical. There is a lot of stuff that you are injecting in, which is not bad for you, but it's definitely not all natural.
Yeah, I guess it's a very conscious call the consumer makes. And I guess as long as it's safe, it's a consumer.
Yeah.
I think that's what the consumer looks for, that I know what I'm doing is not natural, but it should not kill me or should not harm me in the long run.
Exactly. And that for sure doesn't happen with what we use. But I think more clean beauty is more around the product space, not so much in a service space, because you can't have that in our invasive or cosmetology space.
Interesting. So for you, then a lot will depend on a lot of word of mouth, advocacy and influencers. So a lot will depend on that because people will talk to other people and not just what's on their website, on your social media page, from brand communication and advocacy from people who are already used it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even influencers for that matter. So in your industry per se, there is a role of influencers. Do you find it relevant for you, or do you think it's suffering now because deficiency in trust? So what's your point?
So influencers are a big thing in our category, and because also the whole trend has shifted. People don't really go on Google to search for new technologies. They actually discover them on Instagram, and they discover it basis what influencers are talking internationally or locally. And that's how a lot of discovery on the latest trends happen. So influencers are definitely key and critical. And we started our journey with them, I think around 2016 when the bubble came up about influencers, and we did the whole roller coaster. Everyone and anyone should have come to Kaya and be speaking about it. Then it was almost abusive because they became so demanding and challenging that you, as a brand, you really had to choose how do we want to go about this. And I think one big learning for us was that we wanted authenticity. We didn't just want people to talk about it. We wanted authentic people to talk about it. One, people who definitely have an influence and have a credibility to say what they're saying, and therefore people listen. And two, be authentic with the brand. So they actually believe in the brand or they use the brand and therefore are willing to talk about it, and not just talk about it because you've been asked to or been paid to or been given something free to do it. So we've actually developed something called Friends of the Brand, which are, so we don't do endorsers or brand ambassadors. We have a category of friends. And these guys have actually been customers of Kaya before they became our advocates or before they became friends of the brand. Most of them have been with us for 5 years, 7 years, one of them 10 years. When they speak about their journey or when they speak about something they've done at Kaya and how it's worked, it is absolutely authentic. So that is our take on influencers. They are extremely important. And of course, every now and then we do bursts with different kinds of influencers in different TGs and male or female or which nationalities we're targeting. But with all of them, the authenticity is something that we try and maintain always. And even if it's a first timer that we use as a burst, almost always they will become clients of ours and therefore have a longer relationship with us. So I think, yeah, authenticity is probably the key thing for us in influencers, and you can't negate their role or their importance in a category like beauty, which is extremely important.
Exactly. And there's, as you would know, there's people say that how's the office, how's the job fit, employee fit. A lot of people do not look how is the brand fit with the influencer that's working. And most of them get that wrong. I need this person irrespective of the brand. And the way influencer market exploded initially was the fact that people never believed the endorsement that the big film stars and were doing, because that there was no brand fit in the consumer's mind. That's where the influencer came in, say that, okay, I'm more like you, and there's a brand fit. But it somewhere got diluted along the way. And people say there is no ROI in the influencer or advocacy, let me just say. But I think this is a good way of doing it, making your consumer advocates of the products that they're using anyways.
Yeah, and you have to have a level of influence, right? You can't just call yourself a blogger or influencer because you have a page. So that's something that we definitely check on. I don't see the number of fans or the number of likes as much as I see the content and the quality of the content and your expertise in the content for you to be believable, because I can use that content and therefore also amplify it. But if you are not an expert and someone that everyone will look up to and listen, then there is an issue. And ROI calculation is still very difficult, Lijo. There is yet to meet someone who tells me that they have cracked it, but it's a tough one.
Yeah.
So it's a necessary evil, I guess. You can't do without it. You can't live with it.
Yeah, so that could be a tough one, but I guess as I discussed online, July was much of one of better of the tough ones for you in terms of numbers. So I guess things are slowly starting to get good for
really
Kaya as a brand and overall. So it sounds awesome. Thanks a lot, Latika, for coming on the show. And it was amazing. This one of the most amazing high energy interviews, kept me a lot of learnings, and I feel people will find from this podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.